Hi, everybody. Today, Karen and I are going to address another question that comes from this paper that I wrote. And this question revolves around how long should a video be? You know, science videos can be short or long. How long should they be? What's the ideal length? What do you think, Karen? Any ideas on this to start off with?
My feeling is that they should be as long as necessary, but not any longer. Um,
Yeah.
Really, if you need to take 15 minutes to do a tutorial, for example, or to show how to use a method, then you should use 15 minutes.
Yeah, you want to be well prepared, and I, I also I try to keep mine as short as I can, and my videos range all the way from I think I have one that's a little more than a minute long, and another one that's a little more than actually more than an hour long, but generally the shorter side I think is better, just because keep in mind, at least for myself, when I see a video on YouTube, one of the first things I do before I click to watch it is I look at how long it is. Do you do that too, Karen?
Sometimes, yeah. And,
Um,
and yeah, but it doesn't turn me off. I mean, I sometimes watch hour-long videos of seminars, for example.
sure. Yeah, no, I do too. I don't mind long videos, especially if they are well structured. And one thing that I found that I think is very helpful, and I often don't see this in long videos, is if you make a long video, anything more than about 10 minutes, put a clickable table of contents in it that kind of leads the viewer, so the viewer can navigate themselves. And that's not difficult to do. You can put that in the video description, and you can
Can you describe just briefly how that's done in YouTube?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So basically, let's just say at minute 5 of a 10-minute, or let's say you had an hour-long video, and at minute 5 you have a section of the video, some new thing is going to be described there. You just put the time signature in there, so it'd be I think it follows the format hours, so it's 00 for the hour, and then a colon, and then the minutes with two more places, and then another colon, and then the seconds. And when you add that at the on one within your video description, you can then write, maybe this is section A, and a person will go right down there and they will click on that and they'll go right to that part of the video. So during the COVID period, there were a lot of long webinars that were recorded, and I was part of some of those. And when I was the speaker and had control of that video, I went in and put those kind of things into that video, because what it does is it puts the viewer in the driver's seat, gives them control, and I think that's so helpful. It's like when you're reading a book. If it's a textbook, you want to know where you're going. You want to be able to navigate as you like.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah, and let's re-emphasize the idea that when you're making your video, you want to plan it really well initially to be as concise as possible and to avoid digressions, unless you're a stand-up comedian or you're a juggler like you are. Those can be some interesting digressions that people may enjoy, but if not, don't waste the viewer's time.
yeah.
And planning will avoid that.
Yeah, although I would even say, even if you're juggling or doing something like that, you still want some structure in there.
Oh, sure.
Because what you want people to do is you want them to find your video, you want them to click to start watching the video, and then you want them to stick with the video to the end, hopefully, or as long as they are interested, and you don't want to waste their time. So, yeah, keeping it short can be helpful.
Yeah, and another idea, uh, kind of similar to your timestamp idea is to, if you have a video that's an hour long or longer, is to divide it into separate videos.
Yeah.
Part 1, part 2, part 3. Like I've done a series of 5 or 6 videos, tutorials showing how to use iMovie, and they're shorter, I think 10-minute each. And that's enough for somebody to figure out how to do one aspect of movie editing. And once they digest that, they can go to the next video, which gets into more detail about editing and so forth. And I think I think people like that better than trying to sit down for an hour or 2 hours and watching the whole thing at once, because I think some people like to stop and practice. If it's a tutorial, they like to stop and practice what was shown in the first part. And then once they master that, then they go to the second part.
Yeah, that's good. I actually, the video that I mentioned in another one of our episodes on how to make the hoe, I have 2 different versions of that video. A detailed version that's about 18 minutes long, and then a shorter version. The longer version is actually the one that's got more views, but I wanted to give the viewers an option there. Now, one thing I can throw out there is, you might even tell people if they want to speed up this video, just to use, you can go down to the little dial at the bottom of the video, and they can play it at 1.5 speed, or if you're a slow speaker like I am, and I think Karen, you're also, not that. Yeah, we're both slow speakers. We're both pretty comprehensible at 2x, I think. So that's a great way to make to kind of get through a video faster, and still it can often be pretty interesting and useful.
Although I don't really recommend that people when they're making a video, to try to speak really fast in order to cram more information in. And I say that because I know my video channels have a lot of international viewers whose first language is not English, and they may also have difficulty understanding my accent. Sure. And so I speak slowly, naturally, but I would do it deliberately, even if I didn't do it naturally, because I know that people are out there in the audience struggling to understand my English. And I often have people come up to me at conferences and thank me for speaking slowly and distinctly, because their English is not that good, but they can understand me because I'm making an effort. And I think the same thing goes for a video.
That's a good point. And I think, if you're presenting information too fast in a video when it's played at the normal speed, you're going to lose viewers. They're just not going to stick with you. One thing, that's different than in a conference. In a conference, you kind of have a captive audience. On YouTube, you do not have a captive audience. No. You need to get into that video, into the meat of it as fast as possible. And you've got to have some kind of hooks to, get them interested. And then it's got to be well enough done that you'll have them stick with you. Because, people will leave. And what's interesting as a video maker, you can go into the analytics on your YouTube channel, and you can actually see how long did people watch that video in general. If it's a 10-minute video, did they only watch the first minute? And you can see how viewership drops off, and that may give you an indication. Well, I got a lot of clicks on that video, but nobody stuck with it past a half a minute. That would indicate there's a problem, I think.
Yeah.
So, Karen, we can go into this homework or tip assignment if you don't have anything else to add.
That was it, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so here's what we're going to suggest that you try with for this kind of assignment or exercise. Take something that's a potential script. Maybe it's an abstract for one of your papers. Record yourself reading it out and time how long it takes you to do that. You know, select that text if it's in a Word document, determine the number of words. And then, you know, if you have the number of words and you have the time it took you to read that, determine your word per minute count. And why is that important? Well, at least for me, I use that when I'm writing a script because it gives me an idea, you know, how long I'm already at in my video. Do you do something like that too, Karen?
Yes, I often use a script to plan my videos. I may not follow it word for word, but as you're suggesting, if I want to keep my video 3 minutes or less, I know that I speak at about 150 words per minute, and that means that I have maybe 450 words that I can get in a 3-minute video. And so that really helps me when I'm planning out the video. I stick to that word count, or I know that I'll have to extend the length of the video or speak a little bit faster.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing for, you know, especially when I'm doing a video where I know I have a time constraint. So give that a try and see what your word, what's your word count per minute. And, you know, you don't want to read too fast. You want to make sure that it's comprehensible. But I think that's a good starting point for people when they're working on scripts.
So I guess we can wrap this video up by saying that when you make a video, it should be as long as it needs to be, but not a second longer.
I agree 100%.